Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Wrestler Weekly Presents. I'm your host, Scottie Richardson of Wrestler Weekly, and man, what a great show that we've got for you today. I'm going to be joined by a special guest. We'll tell you about who that is in a few minutes. But man, we've had a great time. It's season 2. This is episode 3. If you remember, episode 1, we went through a Mid-Atlantic magazine, a Mid-Atlantic program with Dino Bravo on the cover. Last week, we went to the AWA territory. We're going back to Mid-Atlantic this week. And I've got a few things here for you. We're going to go through that here shortly. But man, what a great time to have grown up in the territories. Being able to, and we're going to hit them all. We're going to hit them all. And so depending on the way, you know how it works, the way we get scheduled guests and that kind of will help the format. And so this week, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. Hopefully you've enjoyed going back and watching some of that on the network. My biggest, I won't say, I'll just say disappointment maybe, is the music. And I understand why. Don't get me wrong. I understand why. And I've kind of enjoyed the 70s jingle that they've come up with. But I tell you, I miss the original music. And so thankfully, we've got a few friends that kept those old recordings, and we can still do that. So first off, I want to go through something that's not on the board, and that is the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Photo Album. Now, you can see this has Baron Von Raschke, there's Blackjack Mulligan, Masked Superstar, Andre the Giant, Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, Wahoo, quite a few people on the cover here. And now this is a photo album, so there's no write-ups. It is just photos. So I'm going to go through and show you the photos. And yeah, we're jumping right in. We've got a jam-packed show for you, so we're just going to jump right into the deep end. So here we go. Look at this. I mean, we're going to start the show with Paul Jones. Look at that fresh cut hair. Look at the car. And Ric Flair. Suited and booted, as we like to say. He's got the Johnny Travolta butterfly collar going there. Ric Flair and Paul Jones. Check this one out. The Baron, Johnny Weaver, and Ted Oates. Got to give a shout out to Les Thatcher. Les Thatcher put these magazines together and did the photography and did some other things. And so Les Thatcher, actually going to try to get Les on the show this season. Hopefully that'll work out. Let's check out this one. Mighty Igor and the Masked Superstar with the red mask. You can see this dates in the 70s. Look at this one. Andre the Giant and Ricky Steamboat. Look at the car there with Steamboat. I mean, these are great. One of the things here at Wrestler Weekly that we are, I put together a team, and we're going to put out Wrestler Weekly magazine. And so probably going to do 4 issues for this year, 2018. We'll do a quarterly issue. So more information coming on that. More information coming on Family Bacon Wrestling. That is coming down to the wire. The cover is completed. The reviews are in. All of that stuff is down the road. So hopefully that will get a big announcement on that. And then we'll be doing some podcasts around the country to promote that. So some other big things in the works for Wrestler Weekly. Boom. Dick Murdoch, Blackjack Mulligan. Look at these. I mean, this is the big time. When I was a kid, we didn't have cable. I grew up, there was no internet, no cable. If you didn't have these magazines, you didn't have a clue what was going on. Luckily, we've got this on TV, local TV with the rabbit ears and the whole deal back in the late 70s. Now, I showed Miles, my son, this picture of Tiger Conway, and there's Dino Bravo, by the way. And his first reaction of 6-year-old son Miles, he said, "Look, that guy looks like No Way Jose." And so I was like, no, it's not. This is Tiger Conway. It is not No Way Jose. Check this out. Rufus R. Freight Train Jones and Wahoo McDaniel. I'm still pushing Wahoo McDaniel and Ivan Koloff every single day in this month of January on Twitter. You've seen me. I'm pushing them for the Hall of Fame, the legacy wing. Put them in, Triple H. Look at Valentine. I've actually, this is no lie. I have actually Googled to try to find this shirt. If I can find this shirt and wear it for an episode of Wrestler Weekly Presents, oh, that would be awesome. Now, before I get into this, I'm going to tell you who my guest is this week. It's David Chappell of the Mid-Atlantic Gateway. And so I'm going to call David. We're going to get him on the phone. We're going to go through some things. He's actually got this Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Mag from Volume 3, Number 3 in late 77, early 78. He's got this one, and we're going to talk about it here right now. Let's call him. David Chappell of the Mid-Atlantic Gateway. Let's get him on the horn here.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, David. How are you doing?
Hey, Scottie.
David,
Good to talk to you.
Good. You are on live right now with Wrestler Weekly Presents. And man, I am so happy that you joined us this week. We're talking about Mid-Atlantic Mags. And I know one of your most favorite Mid-Atlantic Mags is Volume 3, Number 3, Greg Valentine with the trophy case with the Mid-Atlantic title.
Absolutely. Just for a lot of different reasons, Scottie. But thank you so much for having me on. And you know, anytime I can talk about Mid-Atlantic magazines, I'm all in. So that is one of my very favorites. So I'm looking at it right now, just salivating.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to open it up for the fans, and just real quick, Les Thatcher. I mean, what can you tell our fans? I mean, we talk about Mid-Atlantic Mags, and on season 2, episode 1, I went through the one with Dino Bravo, but Les Thatcher, what can we tell the fans about Les?
Well, Les Thatcher has a really, really special place in the Mid-Atlantic Gateway's heart. Les was one of the very first people in the business way back, just into the early 2000s that reached out to us, and has just been a great friend over the years. And, I always loved him. He was the announcer back, actually, when this magazine came out. He was finishing up his run as an announcer in the Mid-Atlantic area, but I loved his announcing. I loved his promos when he did the promos, but Scottie, what I didn't realize was how much he did behind the scenes until we got to know him. He was a wrestler. When I started watching in the early mid-70s, he was sort of winding down as a wrestler. But I had no idea all the things he did in the office, and just a jack of all trades. And he was the guiding force, the editor of these great early magazines. And I think the best ones of the bunches were in 75 and 76, and that's when Les basically did the magazine.
Absolutely.
But just a great guy. Of course, he's still active today in business, and just one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet, and just a credit to the wrestling business.
Now, one of the things that catches my eye especially for newer fans, and David and I talked off air about a lot of fans really caught this territory about the 605 era, and then into the obviously late 80s. But one of the things that catches my eye when you open this mag, I'm going to show the fans here first page, Watch Mid-Atlantic or Wide World, which, as you know, was changed later to Worldwide Wrestling in your area. And it actually shows, if I can show the fans this, it actually shows the different TV stations. And, you know, I grew up Southwest Virginia, was born in Abington, lived in Marion, and we moved to Lynchburg in 1978, almost 79 there. And so when I see Lynchburg, WLVA, Channel 13, man, what memories that brings back. Now, David, you're in Richmond, correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
So tell me about your early memories of rabbit ear television and Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling.
Oh my God! Well, this people that know me will, I've told this before, but it's very true. One of the really cool things about the magazine was that first page when you flipped it over, and some of them, not every one of them had it, but during this time they did have various television stations. And Scottie, back then, in the days before the internet, I didn't know that Mid-Atlantic Wrestling ran on channel whatever in Columbia, South Carolina. I didn't know it ran in Hickory, North Carolina. That was all news. I knew that in Virginia that there were other other locations that had it, mainly because you're talking about the rabbit ears deal. I remember vividly. I grew up just north of Richmond. And I would, on a lucky day, atmospherically, catch the show in the Tidewater area of Virginia, Norfolk.
Yeah.
And if I was lucky enough to have good, atmospheric conditions, I could catch at that time it was, like, as you said, it was Worldwide Wrestling in Charlottesville, Channel 29. But I literally had to, get the rabbit ears off of my TV and hold the end of it and use myself as a conductor, and to get usually I very rarely got a picture, but I would get the audio decently at times. And as I told you off air, back in that era, I recorded the audio, which I still have, and that's how I'm able to do some of this historical stuff on the Gateway. But I'll tell you a quick funny story, Scott. I at one point, this was late in the game, I used to hear Ed Chappell announce on Worldwide Wrestling on Channel 29 in Charlottesville. But and I think it was when Dick got me a picture of Blackjack Mulligan, Ric Flair, Ed Chappell, and Burrhead Jones, where they were having a confrontation, and Burrhead signed it for me. But I had never seen a likeness of Ed Chappell because I never got a picture where I could see it. I'd have to get a better audio. I'd have to turn the brightness down, which I didn't get much of a picture anyway. But I never actually saw a show visually, and I never saw Ed Chappell until that picture.
Yeah,
but awesome. I would vigorously on Saturday, I think it was Saturday evening, try to get Channel 29 out of Charlottesville, mainly because I knew I wasn't going to get a picture if I could get the audio. I heard his voice. But I never saw a likeness of it until probably about 10 years ago when I got that picture. So yeah, it was a battle, but it was a battle I willingly fought, to get a little more, Mid-Atlantic stuff on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening.
And I can relate to that so well. I can remember my dad getting so frustrated that we couldn't watch the matches. Something would happen, and he was a big Blackjack fan, and also Ox Baker. And he would have me running to the bedroom to try to find a coat hanger, and we would figure out a way to try to get some electricity going with a coat hanger just to try to get the picture. And just going back to that time, the things that we had to do. Again, if it wasn't for the wrestling mags, we didn't have cable growing up, and so I had to follow along with what's happening in territories through the old mags, and that's why they're so special to me. And we talk about the audio. A funny non-wrestling story is my mom was such an Elvis fan, and I am now today as well. But anytime Elvis would have those concerts on TV, we always had our little tape recorder that would set right by the TV, so we would record the audio. and that way she would have the audio. So I can certainly relate to that. You know, as we go ahead.
Yeah, one thing funny, Scotty, a couple of tapes I listened to recently, the audio stuff, back in this would have been 76, 77. I mean, right around the time of this magazine we're talking about. Right. A couple times on the Wide World show, I could hear the sound sort of going the snow, you know.
Right.
And I could hear me smacking the side of the TV from anger, or sometimes that would actually jog it where it would come in better, you know. You could hear the bang bang. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I saw the Fonz on Happy Days hit that jukebox, it really reminded me of how many times we would hit our TV.
That's right. I mean, sometimes it actually worked.
Absolutely.
I don't think it actually damaged the television either, you know.
That's right. I want to go real quick, David. Go to the champions section, because I know that's a favorite of a lot of fans. And as I knock this one magazine off, but
right.
I mean, this was something that you know, especially in the mags like Inside Wrestling or The Wrestler, you know, we couldn't wait to jump to the ratings. But here you have Mid-Atlantic. I mean, tell me about, you know, when you see this, what strikes your memory?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the shows back then, the announcers, Bob Call and David Crockett would take pains to go through and list champions at that moment.
Oh yeah.
Which was cool, and then they would, of course, in the magazines, they would typically be a page like this one where, you had not only the champions, but they were, they listed, they had photographs of the champions, and when they won the belts, and sometimes they were even specific and have the actual date, who they won it from, but just having it laid out sort of in a picture format,
right.
Was great. I mean, it was a visual that, sort of had a snapshot in time as to, who was on top of the mountain, and of course years later it's even better.
Oh yeah.
The only thing that happened was, the magazine, ran every 3 months or so. So occasionally, they would be dated. You go to a show and they would still have, the title changes. Obviously, they couldn't keep up like you can on the internet now, just momentarily or on a moment's notice. But still, if you look at it as being just a snapshot in time, it's really, and now as you look back on it, it really does. It's a good historical reference too. When you go back and try to chronicle a certain time frame, that just puts it in a visual perspective for you. So again, that was another part of these magazines that I thought was really, really neat.
Yeah, and I love the fact that this particular magazine captures the moment in time when Ric Flair and Greg Valentine were World Tag Team Champions. We talk about the Four Horsemen and all that, but man, could you imagine now looking back? I mean, what an awesome tag team. And we know the angle and everything that happened and the turn and all that, but my goodness, they won the titles October 1977 from Ole and Gene Anderson. Ric Flair, Greg Valentine, tag team champions.
That was a dream team for me, Scotty. And actually, if folks go on the Gateway or haven't been on the Gateway before, I started to do. I remember real well about a year or so ago, because that was one of my favorite teams. That truly was like two forces,
right.
converging together, and just like sort of the, you just put the two best of any time together, which you didn't really know what would happen, and that's what happened with those two. And I wanted to do a little, just to sort of a wrap up on those two as a tag team. As it turned out, I think I ended up going through 8 parts of that. I had an 8-part series because there was just so much to tell.
Yeah. And
I think in a way it sort of gets, their run, and it was broken up a little bit by, Rick, got the U.S. belt part of the time, and the Andersons were in and out of the territory a little bit. So, but I never thought they really got their due, because they were such great singles competitors, and so yeah, that tag team was just to me just dynamic, and maybe the greatest spectacle when those two came into the ring at that point in time that I had ever seen up to that point. And it's one of these I kind of wish there had been more to their tag team, but I mean, it was just so good as singles, they couldn't really focus them on tag teams for so long. But yeah, that
Right.
and they were riding high at that point. Riding high.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to have you flip to the middle section, David, and just let you kind of talk about this guy and how special he was to the Mid-Atlantic area, and I'm talking about Ricky Steamboat.
And that insert or centerfold, if you would, Scottie, is one that people remember watching in the late 70s. That survived. It was on television as the sort of the bumper insert before they went to local promos for years and years. And this was really right when Ricky got going. Ricky started earlier in '77 and just sort of hit the ground running, and then within a couple months beat Rick for the TV title, and then the star was up in the sky at that point. But yeah, he just that picture sort of defines his early Crockett era. And if you ask one of our best buddies from the Gateway, George South, I think George still has his lifelong crush on this one picture. So I tread lightly, because if he starts thinking about it, I'm not sure what George will do. But anyway, that's just, to me, it's sort of Ricky Steamboat early Mid-Atlantic era. And of course, he went from '77 to '84 in Mid-Atlantic wrestling and just did everything. And it's just been of course, did things after that run, and still is just a great person. I guess I interviewed him about a year and a half ago. Just the nicest. Got a chance to meet him at a show in Raleigh, and just the nicest fella. And what comes across on television back in those days, you still see it.
Absolutely.
When you interact with him. But yeah, that is the photo that probably defines Ricky Steamboat in his early days, and they just did a masterful job of making that part of a great magazine too.
No doubt. You and Dick Bourne, you guys run MidAtlanticGateway.com for those fans that have not been there. Not sure why you haven't, but please go there. We'll have David talk about that in a few minutes. But Ricky Steamboat, just to tag along with what you said, just a tremendous human being. I got the chance to meet him as well, and I put that article together that you guys were reached out to me to put on your website, which I appreciate, the Just Have Fun with Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood, and I did that article about that tag team, and but just a great guy. We talk about his wrestling skills, but what a great guy. Let's flip real quick. We're getting short on time, but I want to show this. I know Dick has written a little bit about it, and I know you've written a little bit about it. The Ric Flair, the Peacock. You've got Ric Flair with all of the different robes in the Peacock photo.
Yeah, they just did there's so much great in this magazine.
Absolutely.
That is just, particularly for that, we're not talking about 1900, but we're talking about 1977. But right. A lot of these magazines, if you remember, Scottie, they weren't even in color, up until fully in color until around this time. But to sort of feature color like that in these robes that sort of define the in-ring presence anyway of Ric Flair. Is that great or what?
It's unbelievable.
That's just an awesome page.
I've posted this a few times.
Soon after that, he got the this would have been about 6 months later, or I tell you, I got this magazine right. I remember vividly. It was December the 30th in the Richmond Coliseum. Right. 77, and they had a triple main event. They had Rick and Tim Woods, Mr. Wrestling. They had Greg Valentine and Wahoo, and of course Greg had recently broken Wahoo's leg,
right?
And Wahoo just come back, so that was a big match that night. And then you had Ricky Steamboat and Blackjack. Steamboat had won the U.S. title and was defending it, and Blackjack would actually win it back in a couple of days. But that was a great card. But soon in '78. One of the biggest angles in Mid-Atlantic history was, Rick getting one of his robes torn up by Blackjack.
Absolutely.
That robe angle.
Yes.
Where Blackjack, turned face and they had the big split. So yeah, those robes. So that robe played a big part in the history of Mid-Atlantic wrestling about 4 months later. But yeah, what a great spread. That one page is just awesome. Wrestling's Peacock. Les just did such a great job on these magazines back in that time frame.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to hit on two last things. One, every episode this season we're going to do what we call the Hot Mag. And if you look in your Mid-Atlantic magazine there, David, you'll see, and you just brought it up, and you see the Greg Valentine with the T-shirt and the Mid-Atlantic title around the waist, and I broke Wahoo's leg. The Hot Mag, this is a mag that was Wrestling 1979 Yearbook, and it's got Greg Valentine on the cover with the Mid-Atlantic title, and he's got like the hammer elbow up in the air, if you remember that one, David. But tell us a little bit, your memory. I know you talked about Greg Valentine with Ric Flair, but Greg Valentine, your earliest memories of the hammer.
Greg came in probably about a year, almost a year exactly after his father,
Right.
John Valentine, was out because of the plane crash, which
Right.
Rick was in, and David Crockett and several others, Tim Woods. I remember when Greg came in. I mean, I've heard of him, read about him a little bit in the New York magazines, but I was astonished by the similarities between him and John.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, at the beginning, he was billed as John's brother, not
Right.
his father.
Right.
That evolved pretty quickly, into what the correct familial relationship
Right.
was. But I just love Johnny Valentine so much, and Greg had
Right.
a lot of the same mannerisms. Sounded just like him. Looks almost, very, very close to him.
Right.
But I think Greg hit his stride. I mean, this magazine to me is sort of a tribute to Greg Valentine really hitting his stride as
Right.
a big time player. You had the angle with Wahoo where he broke Wahoo's leg. That great. I tell you, that picture that's in this magazine with him. I broke Wahoo's leg. I mean,
Right.
to me, Dick and I talked about it. That is sort of like the Ricky Steamboat picture maybe symbolizes the magazine part of the promotion. That picture to me sort of symbolizes that mid to late 70s when the promotion was really taking off as a singles territory.
Yeah.
I mean, just that smug look in that shirt and just how well that was pulled off on TV. That's just sort of epitomizes Greg really hitting his stride in that part of 77.
Absolutely.
That's just like, to me, that's Mid-Atlantic. If you had to put it in a dictionary, put a picture next to Mid-Atlantic wrestling, maybe 75 to 80. That picture might just say it all.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've done that a few times here on Wrestler Weekly Presents. I'll just hold up a mag and let it marinate, and I won't say a word. Just the picture speaks 1,000 words.
The more I look at this magazine, Scottie, you've got Greg there with that shirt. You've got Ricky Steamboat jumping off on Ric Flair, beating him for the TV title, which sent Steamboat into the stratosphere.
Oh yeah.
You've got the picture. You've got the picture of Steamboat, which again I think is kind of defines the magazines for this time frame. And then you've even got they did the cool features on sort of out of the ring kind of stuff. And you've got that one with Wahoo's fishing.
Oh yeah.
And Wahoo would mention on the interview how he loved to go fishing, and that stuff was so cool.
Yeah, it was great because
this.
Les talked about in the article. I believe it was Les that. So says our photographer reported that he had a fun day. The only letdown because the extra hot weather, there were no fish caught to take home for dinner. So they even told us that he didn't catch any fish.
That just put even more sort of a human face on these, to me, bigger than life people.
Right.
And the fact that Wahoo would talk about going fishing, going hunting, playing golf, it just rang, it rang true with what he's on TV, and so they just did a masterful job. I tell you, the more I look at this magazine, it's no wonder that I have my cover is going up on my office wall.
That's right.
It's pretty clear when you go back and flip through it how great this particular one was. And then you got another big angle where Superstar cut Paul Jones's hair in Greensboro. That was another huge angle.
Oh yeah, huge.
The fall of '77. So this is just really chock full of some amazing stuff.
All right, well, David, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up here and then stay on the line. We're going to do a little bonus episode if you've got about 5 more minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to wrap up here. Wrestler Weekly Presents. Remember, old school, classic. This is the place to be.